Who the hell does Harry think he is to bully journalists covering a trial in court?
Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's American dream is apparently officially over.
A total disaster for Prince Harry as the publishers of the Daily Mail newspaper seek to remove a spending cap which could leave the Duke with unlimited liability on legal costs.
But he didn't get that. This is a total destruction of his case and I believe his reputation today.
We are deciding that the house is too big for us.
Wow.
Right?
You think they may have to sell the house,
And
which
we're
will be
trading
humiliating for Meghan, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Prince Harry's legal fight with the publisher of the Daily Mail may be entering an even more expensive phase, and the numbers being discussed are huge. After suffering a major courtroom setback, Harry could now face a battle over legal costs, with associated newspapers reportedly seeking to remove a spending cap that had limited how much the claimants might have to pay. Reports and commentary around the case have suggested the publisher could pursue costs running into tens of millions, with figures as high as $75 million being discussed.
Quite possible that the Daily Mail could now seek revenge on Harry and go after him for more millions because they've been dragged through the mud on this one.
Whether Harry would personally be responsible for anything close to that amount remains uncertain, but the possibility has sparked a fresh debate over just how costly this legal fight could become. Former Sun editor Kelvin Mackenzie has been particularly outspoken about the situation. His argument is that the central problem was evidence. In his view, bringing serious allegations into the High Court requires specific material, showing what allegedly happened, when it happened, and how it connects to the people being accused. Mackenzie argued that Harry and the other claimants failed to provide enough convincing evidence to support key parts of their case. He pointed to the court's findings as evidence that the claims did not land the way the claimants had hoped, while strongly defending the journalists and executives who were questioned during proceedings. And this is where the story gets even messier.
Breaking today, Prince Harry under dramatic financial pressure after his devastating courtroom loss to the Daily Mail, as Elton John, the one man with enough money to save this guy, finally says enough. Finally says, no, Duke, I'm not your bank.
So, in a summary of his damning 436-page judgment, Mr. Justice Nicklin said the claimants had completely failed to prove their pleaded allegations of unlawful information gathering, and therefore their claims were completely dismissed. The High Court rejected the claimants' attempts to prove their allegations by broad inference.
Mackenzie argued that senior figures connected to the Mail were put under intense pressure in court and faced serious allegations about their professional conduct. From his perspective, after going through that process and then securing a favourable outcome on major issues, it is hardly surprising that the publisher would now attempt to recover as much of its legal spending as possible. The legal bills themselves could be enormous. High-profile cases involving major law firms, barristers, extensive evidence and lengthy proceedings can become incredibly expensive, and Mackenzie believes the financial consequences are now becoming one of the biggest parts of the story. There is also another complication being discussed.
Well, that's right. And there is a concern that the insurance, which wasn't going to cover the totality of legal costs, may not be forthcoming at all. Because of that flimsy evidence, the insurers could argue that this was not conducted in good faith and it was never a solid case in the first place. So Harry could be on the hook for the whole lot.
Yes.
Legal cost insurance. Mackenzie suggested there could potentially be questions over how much insurance will actually cover, depending on the terms of the relevant policies and how insurers assess the case after the judgment. That does not automatically mean coverage will disappear, and the exact arrangements are not publicly clear. Still, if any expected protection were reduced, the remaining costs could become far more significant for those involved. Harry may also face additional exposure connected to Baroness Doreen Lawrence, another claimant in the proceedings, depending on the legal funding arrangements involved. Mackenzie claimed Harry had effectively provided financial protection relating to her participation, which could potentially add another layer to the overall costs. The precise financial responsibility would ultimately depend on the agreements and court decisions involved. So while the headlines may focus on one giant number, the real issue is more complicated. There could be Harry's own legal expenses, potential payments toward the opposing side's costs, questions surrounding insurance, and possible obligations connected with other claimants.
Can legally say Prince Harry, a known liar, or if I was kind, Prince Harry, a known serial memory variant.
Not only Prince Harry personally, but also now the Invictus Games are in serious financial trouble. Massive win for the Mail, massive defeat for the Ginger Whinger and the other celebrities involved who love to use the media when it suits them. How delicious that he's come back to the UK just in time to be humiliated. Expect the mother of all tantrums later.
Mackenzie clearly sees the ruling as a major vindication for the Mail's side of the dispute. But his commentary is still opinion, and some of his strongest claims go beyond simply describing what the court decided. The safer distinction is that Harry faced damaging findings regarding parts of his evidence and case, rather than treating every criticism made by commentators as an established fact. One example attracting attention involved Harry's recollection of attending festivals. During questioning, a statement attributed to Harry about not attending a festival was challenged using material from his memoir, Spare. Critics seized on that exchange as an example of what they viewed as inconsistencies in his evidence. But an inconsistency is not automatically proof that someone deliberately gave false evidence. That distinction matters, especially when discussing testimony given in court.
Translate that, what the judge has said, Justice Lincoln, who is, by the way, a total rock star. I mean, what a guy to have essentially dealt with Harry in no uncertain terms, faced him eye to eyeball in the High Court and said, sorry, I'm not putting up with this. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't stand up. It's incoherent. It's contradictory. Thanks, but no thanks. I'm throwing it out.
Problem I've got with him is he keeps on trying to destroy other people's lives. I mean, Charlotte Griffiths and Katie Nicholl, they're people I've known personally, right? Years and years ago, we were both on the beat together. They are honest women. I mean, Katie has just gone through her own cancer battle. They both are mothers. This idea that he wanted to destroy them is quite shocking to me.
What is clear is that the financial battle may not end with the judgment itself. If Associated Newspapers succeeds in recovering substantially more of its legal costs, the consequences could become another major headache for Harry and the other claimants, especially if insurance does not cover everything they expected. Another uncomfortable part of Prince Harry's courtroom evidence centred on his past relationship with journalist Charlotte Griffiths, now editor-at-large at the Mail on Sunday. What might sound like a small detail became important because critics argued it challenged Harry's broader description of how he dealt with journalists. According to the discussion surrounding the case, Harry reportedly suggested that he did not initially know Griffiths was a journalist, and that once he discovered her profession, he ended contact. But Mackenzie argued that the relationship was more familiar than that description suggested, claiming the two had been friendly for a period of time, and that Griffiths was actually the one who eventually stopped the contact.
Well, I think so, Kelvin, to interrupt you, I think you can safely say that Harry lied in court. So, for example, he said he'd never been to a festival, and then it was the quick response from the lawyer acting on behalf of the Daily Mail was to say, well, you wrote about going to a festival in your book, Spare. Well, that's pretty awkward. Or what about the mystery around his friendship, or even more than that, with Charlotte Griffiths, who's now the editor-at-large at the Mail on Sunday? Harry said he didn't know who she was. He found out she was a journalist. He cut off all contact. Turns out they've had a bit of a friendship for many days. He is Mr. Mischief. There's the movie Snuggles. He's got a nickname for her as well. And it was she that cut off contact.
Because regardless of what everyone says, Meghan Markle was actually very reluctant for Prince Harry to press ahead with this case, and I think for very good reason.
There were even claims that Harry had a nickname for Griffiths, something critics pointed to when questioning whether this was really the distant relationship his evidence appeared to describe. Mackenzie considered the issue particularly significant because Harry has repeatedly spoken about his difficult relationship with sections of the British press. Still, those courtroom disputes should not automatically be turned into claims that Harry deliberately misled the court. What they do show is that his recollection and description of certain events face serious challenges, giving critics plenty to talk about. And once the courtroom arguments are put aside, another question starts to loom over this entire story. How expensive could all of this become? Mackenzie believes the potential legal costs could put significant pressure on Harry's finances. Harry inherited money from Princess Diana, while Meghan Markle had already earned money through her acting career, most notably from Suits. Since stepping back from royal duties, the couple have also signed major commercial agreements and pursued several media and business projects. But their lifestyle comes with major expenses as well. Harry and Meghan live in a large property in Montecito, California, and maintaining a home of that size is unlikely to be cheap. Property costs, maintenance, and other household expenses can quickly stack up.
We knew things weren't going well, but to finally have even more confirmation of how badly things are going, even more confirmation of how badly Harry wants back in, just goes to show and prove that Harry and Meghan leaving was a massive mistake, probably led by Meghan, that Harry really didn't consider. And as they get to Hollywood, they're finding out that, well, maybe the industry is interested in you for a couple of moments here and there. But then the industry figured out something. That yes, somebody has a royal title, and yes, that's cool. And yes, maybe you can sell some things on that, but a royal title does not mean Harry and Meghan are producers. It doesn't mean they're authors.
And then there's the private security, and they've got a place in Portugal, which they're having done up at the moment.
Yeah.
International travel. They've got a staff, which are a very long-suffering group of people. So, you know, financially, I mean, how bad could things get for Harry? Could he run out of cash?
Right. So this is where you're going to start seeing, the brave new world begin to collapse in. I bet my rear end to London Bridge that what starts to happen is that he starts to repair his relationship with the royal family over here.
Then there is private security, which has been one of the biggest recurring issues surrounding the couple since their departure from royal duties. Add staff, international travel, business expenses, and their reported property interests in Portugal, and it becomes clear why a massive, unexpected legal bill could matter even to people who have earned millions. That doesn't mean Harry is suddenly running out of money. His exact finances are private, and claims that he is approaching some kind of financial collapse remains speculation. However, Mackenzie believes that if the legal costs become severe enough, Harry could eventually face pressure to reconsider some of his spending and financial priorities. And Mackenzie took that theory one step further. He predicted that financial pressure could give Harry another reason to repair his relationship with King Charles and the wider royal family.
This is not a well man. This is not a well man, and it's shocking that Meghan is allowing this to play out publicly, although it could, I guess, work to her benefit in a divorce, because we're basically seeing this guy have a public mental breakdown, believing all these delusions. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's American dream is apparently officially over. Yes, oh yes, the couple are seemingly wanting to come back to the royal family on bended knee and reforge ties in the UK as their deals with Netflix, Spotify, and a variety of other companies dry up, as Hollywood has discovered one simple thing: having a royal title does not make you particularly talented sometimes, especially in the case of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle.
In Mackenzie's view, money could become part of the motivation behind any future attempt at reconciliation. That is a dramatic theory, but there is no public evidence showing that Harry is attempting to rebuild his relationship with his father because of inheritance concerns. Any suggestion that Harry is positioning himself for King Charles's will remains Mackenzie's personal interpretation rather than an established fact. Even so, the timing makes the speculation interesting. Harry's relationship with his father and Prince William has been strained for years, while reports of possible reconciliation have repeatedly appeared in royal coverage. If Harry begins making more trips to Britain or spending more private time with his family, critics will almost certainly debate what is motivating that change. Mackenzie believes financial reality could eventually outweigh some of the anger created by years of public disagreements. Family relationships can remain tense for a long time, but major legal bills, changing circumstances, and concerns about an aging parent can all shift priorities.
That he craves privacy for Meghan. Well, she's an ex-TV actress. She's got an Instagram account with millions of followers. She posts every 10 seconds. She had a TV series called With Love, Meghan. He's had a book out called Spare. They did a documentary about their lives. They did an interview with Oprah Winfrey. So what does Meghan know about privacy? And then even the kids, they're on Instagram the whole time. With my understanding, Harry's not happy about it.
You don't get to allegedly be setting up pap shots and leaking, and then on the other hand, want to claim your privacy has been breached and you are the victim. The only victim in this case is Harry's bank account, because he will be picking up this bill, and I have no sympathy. Hypocritical.
For Harry, the bigger issue is that several expensive responsibilities could potentially collide at once. His lifestyle already includes security and substantial household costs, while this court battle could introduce another major financial burden depending on the final cost decision and any insurance coverage. And if Associated Newspapers succeeds in recovering substantially more of its expenses, Harry may have to decide where those costs fit among everything else he is already funding. That is why this dispute has moved beyond simply asking who came out ahead in court. The next fight is about money, and depending on how the costs are ultimately divided, it could affect decisions Harry makes long after the courtroom battle itself is over. The financial pressure surrounding Prince Harry's legal battle could go much further than one painful court bill. Kelvin Mackenzie believes there are several warning signs worth watching next, including Harry's relationship with the royal family, his expensive California lifestyle, and even the future of the projects that have become central to his public identity.
We are deciding that the house is too big for us.
Wow.
Right?
You
The
think
house
they
is
may
too
have
big
to
for us.
sell the house,
And
which
we're
will be
trading
humiliating for Meghan, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and we're going to move to Preston, right? We've decided that the north of England, because it's near the power base, not just down the road, not too far, still in Lancashire, down the road from Makerfield, and all lots of places in the northwest, of which we needn't go into, right? He decides then to take a terraced house there and become a party of the people and offer his services to the Labour government.
Mackenzie first praised Lord Rothermere, chairman of the company behind the Daily Mail, for backing the newspaper through such an expensive legal fight. Defending a major High Court case can cost an extraordinary amount of money, and Mackenzie argued that committing tens of millions to the battle represented a serious financial gamble. Now the fight over costs could determine how much of that spending is recovered. Mackenzie suggested that even if Harry and the other claimants are ordered to contribute substantial amounts, the Mail could still be left covering millions of its own legal expenses. Exactly how those costs will be divided remains subject to the legal process, so the biggest figures being discussed should not be treated as Harry's confirmed personal bill. But there could be another complication. Mackenzie again raised Baroness Doreen Lawrence, whose son, Stephen Lawrence, lost his life in a racist attack in 1993. He claimed Harry had offered financial support connected with her involvement in the legal action. If that arrangement creates additional obligations following the case, Mackenzie believes Harry's exposure could become even larger. The precise terms of any agreement, however, are not publicly established. That possibility led Mackenzie to predict two major changes if Harry eventually finds himself facing an enormous bill. First, he believes Harry could make a stronger effort to rebuild his relationship with King Charles.
The money side of it is fascinating, and your point about William is interesting, and I totally agree that I think the only way that Harry could possibly make up with his brother is to divorce Meghan, and as you say, essentially fess up to his bro and put it to him that really Meghan made me do all of those things. And I think that proper reconciliation between the brothers whilst Meghan is on the scene, it's got to be impossible, hasn't it?
Mackenzie joked about Harry suddenly becoming far warmer toward his father, but underneath the sarcasm was a serious prediction. Financial pressure might encourage Harry to restore connections with the royal family. There is no evidence that money or inheritance would be the reason for any reconciliation. Harry and King Charles have a complicated father-son relationship that cannot simply be reduced to finances. Still, if Harry starts spending noticeably more time with his father, commentators will likely question what caused the shift. The second prediction is even bigger. Could Harry and Meghan eventually sell their Montecito home? Their California property has become one of the biggest symbols of their post-royal life. Mackenzie believes that if Harry faced a legal bill stretching into the tens of millions, maintaining such an expensive lifestyle could become harder to justify. Again, there is currently no confirmed indication that the property is being prepared for sale. But if a listing suddenly appeared, it would immediately raise questions about whether the move was simply a lifestyle decision or connected to wider financial pressure. And the house is only one part of the discussion. Critics have also focused on Harry's changing relationship with several organisations and projects associated with his public image.
The other issue is what it means for him and Meghan, because she's not going to be happy that he's picked this fight with the Daily Mail and once again lost. And she's going to suffer because the two of them are now even more.
So the loser has to pay the winner's fees. So this will be interesting. And of course, David Sherborne at the end of the day skips off freely with a huge fat check, doesn't he?
His departure from Centre Barlair following a major internal dispute attracted headlines, while questions have also surrounded the direction of the Sussexes' charitable operation and their wider business strategy. However, claims that these projects are simply collapsing need context. Centre Barlair continued operating after Harry stepped away, and the Invictus Games remain an established international sporting event for wounded, injured and sick service personnel and veterans. Even Mackenzie said he would not want to see Invictus disappear. His criticism was instead aimed at how closely Harry's personal image has become connected with the event. Mackenzie argued that a founder or supporter does not always need to become the main public face of an organisation. In his view, Harry's celebrity can sometimes dominate coverage that could otherwise focus more heavily on the competitors themselves. Whether people agree with that criticism or not, Invictus remains one of Harry's most recognisable projects and an important part of his public life. Any significant change in his involvement would therefore attract major attention. Then there is Spare. Harry's memoir created headlines around the world because it placed deeply personal royal disagreements into a permanent public record.
It is completely ridiculous. Now, speaking of ridiculous, going back to this failed legal action against the publishers of the Daily Mail, Kelvin, after the verdict, Harry makes an intemperate statement describing the verdict as a complete and obvious whitewash. Now, first of all, not only is he denigrating the Royal Courts of Justice, which are headed up by, the figurehead of which is his father, King Charles. But he's insulted Mr. Justice Nicklin, right? Questioning his integrity as a judge.
Interviews can fade from the news cycle, but statements printed in a best-selling book can be brought back years later and compared with later comments, interviews, or even courtroom testimony. That became especially relevant during Harry's legal battle when lawyers examined his previous public statements alongside his evidence. Once personal stories are published in that level of detail, walking them back becomes extremely difficult. And that leaves several things to watch if the financial pressure really does increase. Does Harry begin spending more time with King Charles and rebuilding damaged family relationships? Does the Montecito property remain part of Harry and Meghan's long-term plans? And do we see changes in Harry's involvement with the organisations and projects that have defined his life since leaving royal duties? None of those developments are guaranteed. For now, they remain predictions from Mackenzie rather than confirmed plans from Harry or Meghan.
A lot of the things he says don't seem to come from his head. They seem to be put into his head by his wife. Meghan speak, you can often tell that when he's making public statements.
Probably you're going to have to divvy up the lawyers' fees. Unlike in the United States, in the UK legal system, the losing party may well be responsible for a huge portion of the prevailing party's legal fees. So I think that's what this future hearing is probably about.
But if the final legal costs reach the enormous levels being discussed, those questions could become much harder to ignore. Mackenzie's third prediction is perhaps the most dramatic of them all. If Prince Harry ever finds himself under serious financial pressure, could he eventually reach out to Prince William and try to repair their fractured relationship? In Mackenzie's imagined scenario, Harry would have to acknowledge the damaging things he said publicly about William, particularly in Spare, and admit that he regretted taking their private disagreements into the public arena. Mackenzie even speculated that Harry might attempt to distance himself from those decisions by pointing toward the pressure surrounding his relationship with Meghan. But that is where the theory moves deep into speculation. There is no confirmed evidence that Harry and Meghan are preparing to separate, and there is no basis for saying Meghan forced Harry to make the claims contained in his memoir. Those are Mackenzie's predictions about what could happen if Harry's finances and family relationships deteriorated further. Still, he believes a major change in Harry's marriage could completely reshape the relationship between the two brothers. From his perspective, repairing things with William while tensions remain between Meghan and other members of the royal family would be extremely difficult.
Well, that's the great irony. He picked the wrong target in the Daily Mail because, as you said, Lord Rothermere, the owner, backed his journalists and prevailed. And of course, that paper didn't have a history of things like phone hacking. Lots of other publications did, including The Sun after you left as editor, Kelvin. So he chose the wrong target. And a source close to Harry's legal team described that statement after the verdict as very stupid and unnecessary. Now, you're absolutely...
The family fallout has been building for years. Harry has publicly discussed disagreements involving William, Catherine and Meghan, while Spare revealed private moments that would normally have remained behind palace doors. Once those stories became international headlines, the disagreement stopped being just a family issue and became part of Harry's public identity. Mackenzie argued that this is why any real reconciliation would require more than a friendly meeting or a few private conversations. Trust would have to be rebuilt after years of interviews, accusations, and deeply personal revelations. He also suggested that tensions between Meghan and Catherine could create another obstacle. However, Mackenzie went much further by speculating about Catherine's health and whether stress could influence her willingness to be around Meghan. There is no need to guess about Catherine's medical situation or use it to explain private family decisions. What can reasonably be said is that the relationship between the two couples has reportedly been strained for years. The conversation then turned toward Meghan herself and how dramatically her life changed after meeting Harry.
He said, "You're very good at smearing the living," to Harry. Yikes, you're even better at smearing the dead.
I don't really know what to say, but I think the sooner he goes back to Montecito, the better. But I don't think he's going to get a very good welcome there from his wife when she, wherever she is at the moment, because she'll be pretty angry about the verdict, won't she?
Before entering the royal family, Meghan had built an acting career and was best known for playing Rachel Zane on Suits. Her marriage to Harry transformed her into one of the most recognisable public figures in the world, almost overnight. Critics like Mackenzie question whether Meghan ever truly wanted the traditional royal role that came with marrying Harry. They point to the couple stepping back from royal duties while continuing to use the Duke and Duchess of Sussex titles, as well as their children being known as Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet. That contradiction has become a major talking point among royal commentators. Some argue that Harry and Meghan wanted independence from the institution while still keeping the royal connection that makes them globally recognisable. Others would argue there is nothing unusual about Harry and his children retaining titles they are entitled to under the existing royal system, regardless of where the family lives. Either way, those titles clearly carry enormous recognition, particularly in the United States, where having a direct connection to the British royal family immediately separates Harry and Meghan from ordinary celebrity figures. That is why critics continue questioning whether the Sussex brand could have reached the same level without that royal connection. Now, with another legal cost battle potentially ahead, the pressure surrounding his next move could become even greater. Will Harry change his approach to the press? Could we eventually see a serious attempt to repair things with King Charles and Prince William? Or will he continue building his life in California while fighting the battles he believes are worth pursuing? Only time will tell. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit the like button, share the video, and subscribe for more celebrity and royal drama. And don't leave yet, click the next video you see on your screen for another story packed with celebrity controversy and unexpected twists. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.